Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine Odessa, and we continue for today. You can watch us online on our YouTube channel or in our Facebook page. If you have questions, you can ask them online. Just use the messengers that you can now see on your screens. Our current guest is a military expert, Ihor Romanenko, who is with us online today. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to offer to start with one of the top topics over the last days. This is the draft law on mobilization. Did you have time to look through the draft law? And what can you tell us about it? And I can see in this document that there is a big system from the Soviet times. Unfortunately, it is not enough modernized, and we need to see what could be the final results, the outputs. And with the help of this document, we should ensure completeness of our troops at the front line, which is 3,000 kilometers, and the most intensive part is around 1,200. And we need to have completeness in the level of 80–90%, and this is the first thing. But this is not all. And the next year, we are going to continue the occupation of our lands. Then we need new brigades. And this means that we need to properly equip them with weapons, machinery, and we also need to train people. And it will at least take 3 months when it comes to quality training, and then use these personnel for these tasks. And it was mentioned they're going to mobilize 500,000 people. And coming back to the document in question, it should ensure mobilization, and demobilization is possible only after the war is over. The package of the documents should be implemented. And we can see the proposal to decrease age for people to be drafted up to 25 years, and the training, recruitment, all these aspects are fine. When it comes to provide the possibility of recreation of people who have been already mobilized, but this does not mean demobilization. So there are some proposals for demobilization during 1 year, etc. But this is not possible during the war. Here we should think more about recreation and the possibility of holidays for the military. Because, and to make a decision, we should understand the situation. The situation is not, it's rather difficult because in the east and in the south, there is the strategic offensive of our enemy. And we should not be focused on the information hype around these activities, and because our enemy is able to advance, and we need to stop our enemy, and we need forces for that. That's why we need to mobilize more people as soon as possible. So it is always, they always mention this number of 500,000 of people, like additional manpower. And the President Zelensky, during a press conference, said that the military do not provide any information to justify this number. Will this number be enough to stop Russians in the east and then to fully deoccupy our territories? we can discuss the current situation, and we can have some forecast for the future. But the situation is dynamic all the time on the front line. And that's why, at the moment, we can say that 500,000 people will be enough, but we cannot say that this is the final number about of the people that should be mobilized. And look at what our enemy does. The enemy continuously increases the number of soldiers. We can also ask our soldiers there. Is during the whole day they just kill our enemy, and then they have some possibility for rest during night. But in the morning they see the same number of Russians. What to do about this? So. We should always be based in during our reforms proposals on the current situation on the front line. During the press conference, Zelensky said that in 2023 Russians have had no significant victories. And what about our country? What about our achievements during 2023? It is important to say that Russians have had no strategic victories, but since January they have been able to advance in the east. What does it mean? That they continued occupying our territories, despite the fact that this occupation is slow. And then we could see the situation in the south, and now on along 1,200 kilometers of the front line, there is the strategic defense operation of our defense forces to stop our enemy. And also there is the second task is to destroy as many equipment and manpower as possible. And as for the third task of our strategic defense operation is to gain some time to accumulate forces which are needed for our counteroffensive in 2024. We need to accumulate equipment. We need to have new soldiers, to mobilize people for training, and then to complete the existing units, and also to form new brigades for the occupation. And this is a very important task. And as for some positive things, unfortunately, this year we've seen no significant results in the occupation. But when it comes to the land territories, but we have significant positive results in the sea when it comes to the destruction of the warships and common points of the Russian fleet. And that's why Russians had to get their ships to Novorossiysk and other ports, and we will be able to ensure functioning of the grain corridor. And the marine forces, together with the state security service and other structures of the defense forces of Ukraine, were able to achieve these results. And we should also not forget about the air space. When it comes to anti-missile defense and anti-aircraft defense, our forces were able to ensure the defense there and the protection of our state, and also it was the support of our land troops. And over the last weeks, we have seen the positive additional confirmation of the positive results. Yes, we can see the positive trends, and we can see that several Russian Sus were destroyed that used to launch aerial guided bombs near the Odessa region. How this could just affect the use of aircraft by Russians? We can already see results. They are not that active. They try to scrutinize the situations. They try to find for the ways to ensure the supply to their aircraft. And this is a pause now, and we could also use it But this is off now. But our task is to create the system to have an impact not only on jets, not only tactical, but also strategic jets. And we can remember the attacks on Engels damaging strategic jets. And also, we should have an impact on how they launch and use their drones, and also the places where the personnel for drones is trained. This is also very important. Here, we need to have a complex approach using a wide range of activities. Unfortunately, the process is not as quick as we would like it to be, and the scale is not that wide, but we can still see the results, and we can see the possibility of increasing our capacity in this area, making us optimistic. We can also see that over the last several months, if I'm not mistaken, starting from September, Russians actively used against Ukraine, including the south of Ukraine, the record quality of Iranian Shaheds. And what about their missiles? Unfortunately, they still have enough missiles. The assessments are different. They have like hundreds of missiles still that they carefully use. And they understand that they fight against all NATO countries, not only Ukraine. That's why they are very careful in how they use air resources for their strategic bombarding jets and strategic missiles. And that's why they mainly use the UAVs and such projectiles as Shaheds. They also produce a lot of spare parts. They modernize Iranian Shaheds, trying to find the way how to increase their efficiency. And that's how they spare their missiles, but they still use cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. And that's why we need to continue examining the situation, and we should also increase our capacity when it comes to air defense and anti-missile defense, and this is what we are currently doing. And we can remember what we had during this time last year with the outages, blackouts, lack of the power supply. But now we are able to fight at the level that makes it impossible for Russians to repeat what they had last year. We interfere with their plans, and we effectively use our weapons against the military facilities, not only in the occupied territories in Crimea, and also the territory of the Russian Federation. We remember that at the beginning of autumn, different experts said that we should be aware of the possibility to have yet another blackout. But luckily, the power supply is there, and this means that we rather effectively repel Russian attacks. And I think that this is yet one more example confirming that we have some achievements in the airspace. And this means that we have achieved significant results. And this means that our capacity is being increased. We should realistically assess the situation inland to regroup and to increase our capacity there. We should gain some time to accumulate all forces that we need to ensure the occupation the next year. As for increasing capacity of the air defense units, and we have some information that the air defense system in Odessa is one of the most powerful. How can you comment this? And And this means that we are able to counteract our enemy. And we can also damage our enemy and attack our enemy. And we can see that how we are act at the level of tactic aircraft. So this means that we have been increasing our capacity. And as a foreign military analysts say that perhaps we have the medium-range air defense systems. That confirms the recent events. And we also can see the increased capacity of our air defense system against jets, UAVs, cruise missiles that are used at low latitudes and heights. And we have also now mobile teams that have means for destruction, and also they have all necessary to increase their capacity to counteract, for example, Shaheds at night. These are spotlights, thermal visions, and location stations to identify the enemy's means of attack that are used at lower heights. This increases the general air defense potential of the troops in the south. One of the key topics, recent topics, is the possibility to give F-16s by Ukraine. And a lot of people say that by the end of the year we can expect some F-16s in Ukraine. And I understand that this is secret information, and then suddenly we will see F-16s in our country. But there is like 1 week left of the year. And this information is classified. And of course, this is the right approach, and we will see these F-16s only after they will be effectively used. And we have information from foreign experts that perhaps in the south we have not only air defense systems, but perhaps the new jets. But we will see this in the future. And for us, it is very important to have results. And of course, it would be really have to long-range systems for our air defense. These are fighter jets at the level of 4+ generation, so these are more modern jets compared to the Soviet heritage that we have now in our usage. And the allies also modify these aircraft that will be handed over to Ukraine. And this is very important because to be efficient, we should be able to identify enemy's jets as early as possible and to use long-range weapons. So here we are talking about the preparation to quality counteractions. Because in our area we have more than 700 of them, and generally more than 1,500 units. Of course, that Russia has more such units than Ukraine. But what we have, this is a professionalism, intellectual support, and high level of motivation. Am I right in understanding that F-16s will be mostly used in the south of our country? No. They will be used in those places where they are needed. So if it's south, then it's south. And this is a mobile unit. Why we say that they are of a long-range nature? This is a universal jet, and it can also be used as the unit to attack land mobile and fixed targets of our enemy. And this is also very important. And we just need enough of them. For the start, we need a squadron for them to effectively use. So this is like around 18 units when we come to NATO approach. And we also need to have 4 brigades of around 160 flying units. Of course, we need engineers for that, trained pilots. And also, we need to have the modern weapon on this aircraft. And now these aircraft is upgraded, and we have already discussed these today. And this is we need this to effectively fight enemy in the airspace. The question is about where F-16 jets can be used, because some say that when it comes runway, Ukrainian runways do not suitable for F-16s. Yes, perhaps yes, but that's why there are negotiations to have Griffins as well, because in Sweden they have the specific terms of reference. And they also use their like not only main aerodromes, but also different parts of lands, roads, motorways, and that's why they are more suitable for our runways. But our base will be F-16s. And I believe that both our pilots and engineers will be able to ensure the efficient use of F-16s to effectively fight our enemy. At the beginning of last year, we heard some hype around counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine. Everyone talked about that, and coming back to the press conference of Zelensky, he somehow blamed journalists for focusing a lot on this issue, and that's why it was not as successful as expected. Have they taken into consideration this experience, and what can we learn about counteroffensives 2.0? We are getting ready to this, and we discussed this with you. This strategic defense operation can be the start of preparation to counteroffensive operation. And here we need to fulfill 3 tasks that I've already mentioned. This is to stop our enemy, to destroy as much manpower and equipment as possible, and also to accumulate enough resources and manpower for the next year. But at this stage, we need to support our defense forces for them to be able to perform, to fulfill these tasks. And we remember that the enemy has a lot of manpower along the front line, and they are able to advance. Slowly, but advance. We need to change this situation and just to fulfill the task of the strategic defense operation. Will Russia try in 2024 to freeze the war, to prepare it even better, and to continue the full-scale invasion in 2025? They will try this. That's what they have been doing lately. And they will just try to legitimize the occupied territories of Ukraine. And then they will continue their full-scale invasion. And of course, we will not agree we will continue our fight. And that's why at the moment we cannot even talk about negotiations. We should get ready to further the occupation activities to be stronger during the possible future negotiations. Thank you very much for joining us today at the Media Center Ukraine Odessa. And I'd like to remind that we've had with us Ihor Romanenko, military expert, and we will continue our work at 1:30.